A twin flame story. The lizard's keeper, where the dark soul meets the light. We are who we are until we learn to love. Introduction. She was the yin to his yang, but they could not meet in the middle until the both of them learned how to love first. The lover's potion brought them together, but not until they both were ready, and so hence that she was his light to his dark, and that the both of them were learning to balance their energies to become one here. The potion was called the lizard's keeper because he and she were both just reptiles looking for a place of breeding grounds. That is, until their hearts were to become one. They needed to be each other's gatekeepers here first, once they knew just how to be here, keeping one's own keys, gates closed off to others who did not have their own true best interests at heart. Only then could they come together here as one. And so, yes, the both of them needed to learn and just how to keep each other's hearts safe. And so hence the gatekeepers, the key keepers of their hearts, each other's hearts. And so lizards, well, lizards are the most basic creatures who do not know the difference between right and wrong, good or bad. And so that not until you know do you know. And now they both do know. And so now they both do come forward here as more, as their own true and exacting best self souls, just as their own master teacher Jesus did a way long time ago. And now the story. Little did she know that someone was watching her, and out of the corner of her eyes, she could see a kind of mysterious image, or something that looked like it had an apparition around it. Sort of like a circle of light that was encompassing this thread of light. It was as if something was hooked onto this sucker, like a thread coming from nowhere, and yet it seemed to be all-encompassing this thread, surrounded by apparitions of light bearers, or light-bearing fringes, or spectacular accessories of threads. And so she could see that something was attached to this string, but she could not for the life of her ever even imagine just what that something really was, because if she had, she would have run for her life right then and there. Because do you want to know what was hanging from that thread on the other end? She finally got to see once she let her gaze lessen around the object that was closest to her, but seemed the furthest away. It was a strand of hair, kind of like a dog's breath away from her, which just meant that she could see it, but could not fathom what it was doing there. Out in the middle of nowhere, out in this field that seemed to be just miles of distant skies surrounding her. And when she finally realized that there were headlights coming towards her in the distance, that is when she let out a holler as loud as she could, just hoping that someone who was coming near her would be someone sane at least, and not someone who just left her out there to die. But just when she felt the knot in the pit of her stomach let go, guess what happened next? Well, this wonderful gentleman, as beautiful as the sky is blue, turned out to be her hero in waiting. Her rescuer was this handsome, gentle man in whom she had not only dreamed of, but whom she felt she knew from a long time ago, possibly even another lifetime ago, because she did not exactly recognize him, but at the same time, he seemed most familiar to her. And so she just let out a scream when he came near to her, and he scooped her up into his arms all around her, feeling her embrace. And by the time she realized what was really happening, it all happened at once. The string around her neck began to pull tighter against her, but the one around her finger only let loose, because that is how and where he was coming from. He was actually leading her on home, because this string was really only a much-needed trophy for her to bring on home to him, because it was attached to this extremely little black book that looked like it was old and wretched, only because it was let out to be that way, according to its strings around it, or in just how it was now being held by her. Meaning that she was the one doing the leading around with it, not him. And now she understood it, and so did he. And the moral of this whole story is that he was her knight in shining armor. But little did she know that he was not only her rescuer, but that he too was the man who led her out into that field there that night. so that she could see up in the night sky all of the threads that were hanging down, and so that she could pick her very own, which too was attached to him, and she never even knew it. Because this most famous string that we are talking about is our very own true twin flame exchanges of, and frequencies of light coatings, meaning that only the two of us could feel and could know that we were meant to be together, and that this specific thread linked the two of us together here for lifetimes on end. And that if we both had not listened to our very own interior guidance system about these strings that do hang out and down from above, so that we can then grab onto them when we least expect for this to be, well then, now we can both see and will both know from this specific moment on that the two of us were to be together here as one. And now you know the rest of the story here, because now the two of them won this lifetime's award for being the best lovers that this whole world could ever see them be. Because now the two of them both knew how to love, for they had both been down so many bad, exhausting roads to come to this place of true love within them, that finally, against all odds, they reached within them where this true treasure trove of love existed. And it was there that the ends of the thread existed, as well as the treasure trove of abundances would come forward for the both of them to be together here as one. And now they can spend an abundance of riches on the honeymoon of their dreams, because now they do know that once you go through all of your very own dark nights of the soul here, well, that is where, when, and how you do become ready for the other one to be here as your very own one now today. And the little black book became the little black hook that kept them together here forever as one. And so I asked, what is the little black book? Is there any meaning to this? Or how does this relate to the story? Well, only because books do show us things like twin flame reunions and such. And so the potential of this all is this book now too. Shows them both and just how to be here as more. And so any little black book, such as this one, could show them all on home here. And so the book is a metaphor for someone or something, showing you all on home here, like a symbol of your true love to and for one another, to be here now together as one.